Hey everybody, Cleo here, and I have just said goodbye to the last week's vlog, and now it is time for me to find out for which team I will be reading in this week's vlog. And you already know from the title, of course, but for me this is quite exciting to figure out because there is a particular result that would be beneficial at this point in time, just because of where I'm going this weekend, because I'm going to be meeting up with some friends, and yeah, one of them is part of one of the two teams that I still need to read for. So I want to ideally read for that team, but we will have to see. So, spinning the wheel. And that is Team Triangle, so that is indeed the person I'm going to be meeting. So later on in this vlog you'll see me meet up with two online friends who, if you are familiar with my channel, you will be familiar with these people as well, and if you're not, you definitely should be, and their channels will be linked down below, but we'll talk about that later. I am currently in the middle of two books. I am just over halfway through Mistress of Lies, which is a reread, and then I am 86% or so already into A Cup of Tea. Now both of these I've been reading in today already, so part of the progress that I already have in these books are going to be counting for Team Triangle. Ideally I wanted to finish this one before tomorrow evening, because on Friday I actually leave for Germany for the meetup with my friends, and I'm not taking this book, especially if I'm gonna be close to the end. But yeah, it is already past 8 o'clock. I have yet to open a book since coming home around 5:30. So yeah, we have basically been losing time on social media, and I need to get a grip and get some more pages read in this one, because ideally I get across the 300 page mark today, which would still mean reading some 60 pages today, which I really am not thinking is going to be super likely for me to manage that still, because most of the time recently I've been going to sleep around 10 o'clock. But we'll just have to see if I manage that, and I think there's still potential for me to finish this book tomorrow. But yeah, maybe that won't happen, and I'll just have to finish it out after I get back from Germany. This is a reread. I don't fully remember the ending anymore, but also, I mean, I don't think I'm gonna be like struggling with like, oh no, I need to know the ending, and if I do, maybe that will just make me read the pages faster and make it more likely for me to finish this book in time before that meetup. But yeah, for the time being, not looking great. But the first thing that I'll talk about is a book that I am very close to finishing, and that actually doesn't count for Gamenightathon yet. So what I will be doing is I'm gonna show you the moves on the board that I needed to do after the sabotage, as if I've already finished Mistress of Lies, because I definitely think I need to know at this point in time what the prompts are for the books that I'm gonna be taking with me to Germany. So I'll have that move play out over there. The next thing that I need to reach after that sabotage is the trash can, and luckily the sabotage does not affect my possibility of reaching the trash can in one go, so I will still reach the trash can in one go, and then after that I will have to perform one slide on the board, because you always have to do one slide on the board even if you're able to reach the icon in just one go. So I'll do that as well right now. Alright, so I've done so, and so now it is time for me to figure out the next prompt that I will be reading for after the trash can. I am hoping, of course, to be finishing these books in time, but actually maybe I just need one other prompt, unless the other prompt is going to be a prompt that I can use for A Cup of Tea, because if I can use the next prompt for A Cup of Tea, then that will definitely still be finished throughout this week. But if not, then that will be the book that I'm choosing for my journey to and back from Germany. I might not get as much reading done as I'm hoping to read on the way there and back, because typically on trains I actually am very easily distracted. But I still want to make sure that I have the option of switching between two books for my trip there. because, you know, if one of them is going a little bit slower, then I still have the other one to fall back on. And so I don't want to feel like I only have this one option to read. Of course, I could take an e-reader with me and have multiple options like that, but, you know, I want to be, if possible, reading books that I know that will fit Gamenightathon prompts. But so yeah, we're ready. We have 18 prompts left over on this thing. Probably you're not going to see it very well, but I'll try to bring the phone up to the screen so that you have a full view. There are definitely some that I prefer to have over others, but yeah, we will not have a choice. Tarot. Oh god. I feel like I had a book very recently for which I was like, oh, that would work for tarot, because somebody had like the power to see the future or what. But now I'm like, but neither of my current books has that power in it, right? Did somebody see the future in one of my two books? No. So where did I get this from? But okay, tarot. So anything to do with predicting the future, choosing a path, that could work, like choosing a direction in life, mystical arts, so in that sense magic, right? So in that broad sense, we could definitely already say a cup of tea can fit this. She is performing like the tea ceremony, that's what she's learning for, and I definitely feel like tarot and tea is like a great combination. I feel like I can make a cup of tea work, you know, like I feel like there's a vibe link there, okay? It's pretty wide, it's pretty vague, but maybe I have a better explanation by the time that I should check back in with you guys after I've consulted the master, which is Charlotte, who knows how to change every single prompt to the extent that it can work for whatever you want to read. But so we have removed, I'm gonna use it for a cup of tea. So we have removed that, and that means that I'm going to be spinning again. Mountain. Okay. I know a book for that. Is that a book that I want to bring? Maybe. I mean, I'll just do it. Ta-da! Mount Fuji. This is My Life in Japan, the most recent book on my TBR by Chris Broad, who apparently owns a YouTube channel, and this is a book about his life in Japan and the 10 years that he spent living there. I'm gonna go to Japan in November. It will be fun to go on a trip right now and read about a trip that I'll be taking in the future. So yeah, I think I'm happy with this choice. I'm gonna take this book along with me to Germany, and that is gonna be my book to switch out with. So I'll have a fiction book about a road trip and a non-fiction book about a destination that I'm going to. So I think that that is fitting. So yeah, we'll see how far we get into these books, whether I'm able to finish them before. But in any case, I think I am pretty safe when it comes to the trash book, because that one is going to be quite small. So even if I don't get through it fully on the train there and back, I do have Monday and Tuesday off, so I will make sure that I finish that book in time, and Mistress of Lies will also be finished. So cup of tea, no problem. I plan to finish it tomorrow. So that should mean that that I should be on this book by the time that the next sabotage hits, and so that I'm not making any sort of like illegal moves here. Although once again I forgot to do the moves on the board for the tarot before doing my next spin and figuring out that I have to get to the mountains, so I'll have to try and avoid locating the mountain on my board when I'm doing the moves for tarot. I do actually think that they're both in the bottom section of my board, so I do actually have a vague idea where both of them are for once, but I could be wrong about that because maybe the mountain has moved a lot already in the meantime, but I think in the beginning at least it was somewhere there. But so yes, not great on my end, but so yes, I now, after having talked for 20 minutes in this vlog and in another vlog, am finally ready to get to some reading, but I only have like an hour and a half or so, realistically speaking, left today to do so, so it's definitely not going to be 60 pages still today. So I failed. I am 80 pages away from finishing Mistress of Lies, but I'm also about to leave for the train station, so it is gonna have to wait until I'm back from Germany. So it was definitely getting good right now, and I think what I said earlier was like I'm mainly being drawn into the like romance side to things, but just because that side of things was like mostly focused on for a big chunk, I would say, of the middle section, and so maybe that is also why I had such a big boost at the beginning of reading this book, because I was also starting to feel quite a big boost towards the end. It's not like I necessarily read so many pages yesterday, though I actually think I probably also read close to 100 in this book, but I definitely felt like going through more pages in the same amount of time, for example. And that is because I feel like the beginning and the section that we're in now is really starting to explore the actual story more, and the dynamics between this eternal king who is basically taking blood from the people who don't have blood magic in order to keep himself in power forever. And we are seeing how our protagonist Shan is a underground figure who kind of wants to see some change in the way that things are run, and potentially that means, you know, a plan to overthrow the king, who knows. But yeah, I've been enjoying the focus on that more, and so I'm happy that I mean, I don't dislike the romance, and I actually find it very intriguing because it definitely is one of those cases where we have like three characters who are equally drawn to all of each other, which I do like that dynamic apparently, and so I am definitely okay with that, but I definitely felt like it was a little bit overpowering towards the middle section of the book, where we're like every single chapter, it seems like for a little bit there, sees some sort of a lusty scene between two of the three characters, and not to say that that is wrong, and not to say that all of them are like them jumping on one another, but you know, it definitely felt like the focus was too much on that side of things toward the middle section, and I'm happy that we're going back to the sort of like actual overarching plot towards the latter half. But so, I have finished the book in the meantime. Unfortunately, I cannot count it yet, so I cannot log it yet, and that is A Cup of Tea, which is going to be my tarot book for multiple reasons, including that another way to tell the future is to brew tea leaves, but also, you know, what I was saying before, somebody who is trying to determine their path in life, that also is a reason why it counts, for example. So, A Cup of Tea, I finished it, and I would say, like, yeah, it was fine. Like, it was good. I had a great time with it. It did what a cozy fantasy is supposed to do, but it was also not like a standout within that genre. And I think this year I've read quite a fair few. I think I could say that I've read like 5 at least. And I would say that this one ranks sort of like in the middle of those. You know, like I was very much enjoying The House Witch and The House Witch Part 2, so I would say that those are sort of like, they go above and beyond of what, of like, yeah, they're just like the perfect examples for me of a cozy fantasy, because I just think that I vibed with humor in there more, that there's also just more humor in there compared to A Cup of Tea. And then Agnes Aubert and The House Witch Part 3 will probably be like the lower range, and then Cursed Cocktails and this book, A Cup of Tea, are sort of like the middle ground. They are exactly what a cozy fantasy is supposed to do. They work exactly for that sort of vibe that I feel when I pick up a book like this, where I'm like, I want something that is sort of like wholesome, low stakes, fun, that, you know, isn't taking itself too seriously, isn't too deep and too emotional and all these things. Something easy and light for me to digest as a sort of like palate cleanser between some sort of like more heavy or between some more sort of like heavy or just like more, I don't know, stake-filled books such as the fantasies or the literary fictions that I read. And so those two fit that bill perfectly. But when it came to the house witch, for example, I was eating that up, and with this it was like, I'm enjoying this, I'm having a good time. So, you know, depending on what you need, then, you know, I would definitely say that you could try a cup of tea. But if you kind of want to taste this cozy fantasy that I like most, then go to the house witch. But so yeah, I am ready, I am packed, and you know, I might have forgotten 20,000 things, but so be it, as long as I brought the gifts. So I am about ready to go to the station. I am gonna be quite early, I might even make the earlier train to Luik, but yeah, I'm ready to move now, so let's just move. And even if that means that I have more time in the station, then I'll just get a coffee over there. In any case, I might actually need to take more time because I need some lunch, and I guess I need to take a bag in that case as well, because I am packed, but there is no room in my bag anymore for anything else, so I do still need to buy something for lunch. I could get something in Frankfurt, but then I'm like reliant on the offer in Frankfurt. I don't remember whether, no, I think it was in Munich that I had something to eat between my trains to Venice. So I don't think that I did, that I actually stepped into the station itself in Frankfurt when I had to do a transfer there. I have 40 minutes there normally, but so yes, I also don't want to rely on the fact that, you know, I might miss this first train, or like my train might be late and then I might have to like run for the second train. So yeah, I also don't want to rely on like, oh, I have 40 minutes in Frankfurt. You know, I think there is food on the train, but I also don't want to rely on that. Bicycle.
Is it like the German from Tiffany or what do you think? No, it is. How this. So this thing right here, it was where like
Multitask.
And a monastery in the background. And you can see the
Search for affection, but searching isn't finding. Sit back, relax, 'cause love is blinding. Search for affection, but searching isn't finding. Sit back and relax, 'cause love is blinding.
I want to tell you my favorite thing about
It's a strange world we live in. It's all we want is loving. Searching for things unspoken.
yeah, I really like this
All
movie.
this talk.
Oh, you tried it. I
Strange world we live in.
I would have been Marcus.
Searching for
And then it was like,
things
oh, no.
unspoken. We can't hold this token. Touch the fire.
Burn your hands with the desire.
Of the future
It's selfless
in this battle.
and we're losing. And searching for affection, but searching isn't finding. Sit back, relax, 'cause love is blinding. Searching for affection, but searching isn't finding. Sit back and relax, 'cause love is blinding.
It's a strange world we live in. All we want is loving. Searching for things unspoken. We can't hold this token.
Stick to the trail. No, don't go off the path. Going in a circle, lost, no more. Lost when I search for affection, but searching isn't finding. Sit back, relax, 'cause love is blinding. Search for affection, but searching isn't finding. Sit back and relax.
It's a strange world we live in. All we want is loving. Searching for things unspoken. We can't hold this token.
Hello everybody, I am back. I was absolutely exhausted yesterday, but let's talk about the trip a little bit as well, right? Because I had an absolutely amazing trip. Thank you again to Kitty and Daniela for a lovely little weekend. We had a great time together. We explored the city of Bamberg together, and we also took a little bit of a sidetrack to Kitty's place in order to be able to meet the absolutely fantastic Bussy. So Bussy has approved me, but I will say that mainly she has approved my bag, because apparently the Illumicrate bag, I think it was, for the Stardust Thief is like the best bag ever, and so she's absolutely in love, and I unfortunately did take it back with me, so it's just an incentive for her to like me again if I ever get the opportunity to meet her again in person. But so yes, we had a great time together. We got to explore the city. I had a lot of fun talking books, talking life, talking everything in between, and yeah, I'm back now. It took 8 hours to get there, 8 hours to get back, actually a little bit more, 8.5 more or less. And it went quite smoothly. I will say there were like some delays here and there, but ultimately by the time I reached the destinations it always was like a very limited delay, so that it didn't compromise like my connections to different trains. Which mainly was a concern on the way back, because on the way back I needed to catch the final train from Liège to Leuven, and you know, I couldn't miss that one, so that one would have been a real problem. But in the end, when we were like leaving Aachen, I also saw that like it was going to be on the same platform, so that, you know, normally my train would arrive first, and then when that one left, then the other one would arrive. So unless it was gonna really overlap and they would move the platforms, that it really wasn't gonna be a problem after all. So I had a great time, but I also got to read quite a fair bit, which I'm actually quite happy about. But I also was gifted some books as well, so there was some damage done as well to that extent. So let's talk about the books first. So I think I updated you guys about A Cup of Tea, which I finished right before going on the trip. I did still try to get as far along into Mistress of Lies as possible, but I do still have some 80 pages left to go, which is what I'll be doing today, hopefully, because then I can start counting these books, because I have since finished the trash book, which is Eurotrash by Christian Kracht. This is translated from the German, but it is, I assume, a Swiss author. In any case, the story takes place in Switzerland, and it is following Swiss people. So we are looking at our protagonist, who's basically has a little bit of a difficult relationship with his mother, because his mother has some mental health issues, and she has been taken into facilities a few times in the past already. She's also very much an alcoholic, and he feels guilty about kind of neglecting her, but at the same time he has difficulties confronting her and like being the peacekeeper in their relationship. And so he visits her again at the beginning of this book, and they go on a road trip together to the Swiss Alps, basically kind of on a whim, with a lot of this money that his mother has apparently been keeping on the side, but a lot of dirty money, because his mother's side of the family used to be belong to the Nazi regime, and so they're basically trying their best to try and get rid of this money along the way. This was longlisted for the International Booker Prize, which for the longest time I couldn't really see the appeal for a Booker Prize book for this, because it felt quite generic, but the ending has me kind of confused, and the ending makes me think like, okay, this is the reason why it made it onto the Booker Prize longlist, I guess, because the ending kind of, you know, goes in a different direction that you probably thought, and makes you question the motivations of the son and whether this was basically his plan all along and those types of things. But so I enjoyed it, but it does definitely take a long time to get going, because in the first 60 pages like almost nothing happens, and you're just like, he's just lying down on his hotel bedroom reflecting on the past, on things that have happened in the past, on the fraught relationship with him and his father, with his mother and his father, between themselves, between these different sides of the family, because of the history of his mother's side of the family. And his father's side of the family is also no joke, but at least they don't have that Nazi history behind their name, but like a lot of reflections on that, and it really takes like 60 pages to get into the road trip side of things, which is a lot considering this book is like 193 pages or something like that. So pacing wise, I definitely had an issue with the beginning, but once it took off, I did really fly through it after that. And then I did start the book for the mountain prompt, which is the next prompt that I spun, and that is My Life in Japan, 10 Years in the Land of the Rising Sun by Chris Broad, which is basically a account of his time in Japan. So he basically was part of the JET program, which allows native English speakers to go to Japan and basically be like assistant teachers in Japanese schools in order to help raise the level of English knowledge within Japan. And so he went to Japan that way, and I assume he stuck around, because in that first section that I've read so far, it is talking about how that's like a maximum of 4 years that you can spend in Japan that way, and I'm really enjoying this one so far. So this is really just like a little bit of a non-fiction memoir to some extent, but I'm enjoying like his way of talking about the culture shocks and the like the specific Japanese quirks that he stumbles upon along his time there, and so I'm enjoying that one. I am about 115 pages into this book, so I'm a third of the way in, and it's going very well. I don't know whether I'll still finish it this week for the vlog for Team Triangle, but I will still try. I will definitely be finishing Mistress of Lies, and then we'll see whether I can still finish this one or not. But in any case, like, I think I've done a decent job already for Team Triangle, so hopefully no complaints will come in from that, but we'll see how in the mood I am to be picking up books, because thus far it is 12 o'clock on Monday. I have read not a single page. I've basically just been scrolling the internet, and I've basically just been scrolling the internet and watching YouTube videos, so far nothing has happened in terms of anything productive today. Very much just decompressing from the trip, because it was definitely a busy schedule on that Saturday and a lot of travel on the Friday and on the Sunday. So even though a lot of that travel was just like sitting on the train, that is also tiresome in and of itself. But so, I said that I had some books that I was gifted as well, so let's also go into those. Alright, I hope there isn't too much background noise, because there's, I don't know what they're doing on the street, but there's some sort of a machine going around, and it's starting to come into this direction, so the sound is getting louder. The struggles of being a creator. Yeah, I guess I will wait for that sound to be over, because that's gonna be loud. Or I guess I can close the door and hope that you don't hear too much from it through the window, because it's outside, of course. First of all, from Kitty, from the channel Kitty in the Books, I was gifted Know by Name by Chanel Miller. So this is a non-fiction about a woman who was raped, and so her story will shed a light on, you know, how we still as a society protect the rapist and don't protect the victims the way that we should be, rather than having a system that basically centers around protecting the perpetrators of these crimes as much as possible, it seems like. So I've been hearing such good things about this book for, I feel like, decades at this point in time. It's probably not that old, but I definitely have been hearing a lot of good things for a long time. It's definitely been on my want to read list for a very long time, and so I'm happy that Kitty has now pushed it onto at least the list of books that I will get to in the coming year, because I do have this rule that I read all of my books within 1 year time period, so it is getting read prior to July 2027. And then I also exchanged the book with Daniela, so she got my Agnes Albert's Mystical Cat Shelter by Heather Fawcett. In exchange, I got Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies, also by Heather Fawcett. So I was a little bit disappointed in the Agnes Albert book, because, you know, I've heard such good things about the Emily Wilde series for years, and so when I saw this Agnes Albert Cat Shelter book come out, I was like, a book about a cat shelter? Like, absolutely, I have to try that. And it's not like it was a bad book, but it definitely left me feeling very meh about it, and I definitely didn't feel the love for cats that I should be feeling in a book that is about a cat shelter, right? But I'm hopeful that I'll have a different time with this book, because there are definitely people who have read both of these series, so who've read Agnes Albert and who've read Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia, and who are indeed like a little bit disappointed in Agnes Albert, so potentially I'm gonna have a much better time with Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia. So yeah, another book that needs to be read within a year. And then while I was gone, a package also made its way to me. So my new broken binding is here. This is the June one, I guess, right? It was a little bit late because we're already towards the end of July, but that's actually fine, because there is no July book for the Broken Binding SFF in the end, because the book that they were originally going to have in the subscription for July was pushed back to later within the year, and they didn't really find another perfect fit for the subscription. So I was not charged for July, no book came for July, and I'm actually glad for that, because, you know, it would have been another book to add to the tally. Heartless Immortality is the theme for the June SFF The funny thing with the SFF is also that I kind of, when I got onto it, I was like, it has like a very good skip policy, because I think you can skip like 9 times out of 12 or something like that, you know, like a lot of times in a year. And you know, I haven't used any of those. So here we go, The Heart of the Naga by Outtro, translated by Anton Her. I will show you guys the original cover. This has a this has a very different look and feel to it, but I'm not mad about it actually. I do like the original cover as well, but it's not a case of being so in love with the original cover that this one disappoints me. Actually, is the original cover here? Because they have been, yeah, it is here, like in a different color. But so this is the original cover. So originally it's more like a yellow cover. So this is the green redesign for that, and this is what they've basically been doing recently, is that they've been using the redesign on the, like they've been showing the original cover in a other color on the inside, and I do actually really like that approach, because that way if you're a little bit disappointed in the redesign, you can still use a version of the original cover. But I am not mad at that redesign. Like, we've got a dragon on the cover. We're definitely not angry at that, and I do love the sort of idea of having the landscape visual inside the body of the dragon. At the back it said, "The bird that drinks blood is the one that lives the longest." Interesting. Lovely naked hardback. So we have the tiger here, some sort of a female character, lovely sprayed edge, and then just like the continuation of the insides. Then we have this on the front inside papers, and that's on the back. I don't know whether I like the person in there. I think it looks like such a weird sort of like scale and style mix, but okay. And then of course we also have the signature. But so yes, I am looking forward to this, but I have forgotten what it is about, so we shall have to read the inside. Let's check it. So, the world is divided by the line of limit. To the north are the Tokebi, fire people able to manipulate flames as both weapons and illusions. Recon, giant birdmen with immense strength and warrior acumen, and the humans, as divided as the other races are unified. To the south are the Naga, a reptilian people who relinquish their hearts for immortality. For centuries the races didn't cross that line, but change is in the air. A Naga is being sent north, and a trio is being dispatched to make sure this agent from the south makes it out alive, one from each race. But the illusion of a simple journey is quickly dispelled by the fact that the Tokebi is merely a scholar, not an adventurer. The Recon is deadly afraid of water, and the human hunts and eats Naga. And when the Naga they're supposed to be escorting out of the Kiboran forest is murdered, the one sent in his place turns out to very much have a heart, meaning he's quite vulnerable to the dangerous exodus. The four must quickly forge an alliance and shed the distrust and prejudice that plagues them if they are to survive. And just as crucial, they must figure out what this mission is actually about, because unbeknownst to them, the very fate of the world might rest on this one Naga making it to the north intact. Okay, so this is, I think, not actually like a new release, it's a new translation. So I think this is actually originally published in, and yeah, of course, because we saw it was translated by Anton Her, so it's originally written in Korean. I think that makes it the first translated fantasy that has made it into the SFF, and I would definitely not be angry for them to do that more often and to make sure that they have at least one every year that is a translated fantasy, to like encourage the spread of translated fantasy, because translated fiction is definitely something that is very much booming at this point in time. The translated fantasy is definitely still something that is very much more obscure. I would very much like to read more translated fantasy, but also find it quite difficult to find and to kind of distinguish between the quality of translated fantasy off of sort of like hearsay. So yeah, I'm very happy with this choice and curious to see what I will feel about it. I do actually really like that premise, so maybe it'll be a sooner rather than later. Or you'll see this book again in 8 months' time when I finally get around to it, right? Hello guys, it is Wednesday, which means that I'm done reading for Team Triangle. It's also the first time that I've managed to finish all of my books in time for the end of the week. So I finished My Life in Japan by Chris Broad yesterday, very close to midnight, and I really enjoyed this one. So this is just like a little account of part of his time in Japan, going from his time as a JET exchange student basically, or exchange teacher basically, in Japan into like the later years after he decides to remain in Japan but you know, like to leave the program, and it's a collection of chapters that basically explore the culture of Japan and the differences and the cultural shocks that he endured during that time. It isn't necessarily going to give you a ton of information about the specific cities to go to within Japan, because for example a lot, like the first half or so, takes place in the city that he started off his time in Japan, and we do get some little bit of time in Kyoto and in Osaka, for example, so there definitely is some insight to be gained, but it is mainly a very like a little bit of an overview look at the culture in Japan and at some of what you can expect as a foreigner in Japan. And so I really enjoyed it a lot. I had a good time with it. There were definitely some things that I definitely already knew going into this, but I still had a great time with it, and I thought it was a very palatable way to kind of go through some of this information, and it just increased my wish to go to Japan, which is a good thing because I'm going, of course, in November. But so yes, that means for the first time I have finished all the books that I was currently reading in time for the switch to the new team, which means that I also for the first time actually know my contribution to this team prior to going into the next week. So I'll actually share an overview for the 3 teams thus far, how much I've read for each one of them, and so my contribution to them. For some of them the contribution was lower because of having a larger amount of penalty points to swallow, especially that is for Team Circle. They unfortunately had to deal with a lot more penalty than the other had to, and so yes, as a consequence you will also see that my highest contribution is not Team Circle. My highest contribution was actually Team Diamond, and so Team Triangle does not have to be annoyed at my somewhat lesser performance this week. I was still very much on track, still doing very well, and Team Triangle is currently in the lead when it comes to Gamenightathon, though by the time that you are seeing this, this can definitely have changed a lot. They're currently a little bit in the lead, but also Team Heart, which is the follow-up team, has not gotten my contribution yet. And so the way that the point system works is basically we're taking the average of the score that each team gets amongst themselves, and then we're adding my contribution to it. Basically Team Heart does still need to catch up a little bit to Team Triangle in terms of their average page counts, but if my contribution is the same as it is for Team Triangle, then they're gonna be very, very close to one another. So nothing is lost yet. I think that a lot of teams can still make it, because even Team Circle or Team Diamond, who are running a bit behind, they are one-person shows, so their books can definitely make a huge difference when they start logging them. But so yes, that is going to be it for this vlog for today. I am going to be switching over to the vlog for Team Diamond, which is going to be the final weekly vlog for the month of July. Well, hope you guys enjoyed this video and see you guys in the next one. Bye!